Hello, how's everyone doing? This is Prophet Dan Smith, for those that don't know. Uh, I say that because you gotta know. When a prophet speaks, you gotta know. And it's the Lord giving special, direct, divine messages to the body of Christ, okay? It's not, has nothing to do with being proud or anything, because this is a very tough call to be called into the prophetic ministry. It's something else. But I do want to put this out there. I guess it was about 2 weeks ago. I had this weird experience, and it was very strange because, usually when the Lord shows something, I mean, and like I say, the Lord can show things in the prophetic ministry, like, say, for instance, me. Well, use me as an example since I'm making this video. Like, different ways. It can be an open vision, it can be an inner vision into the spirit realm, it could be just in your head. But what it showed, it terrified me for just a split second. So what happened was, and this is so weird, and it's so hard to even explain, but the main message, I know what the message was saying. And so what I saw is, and it's hard to explain, so bear with me. Hold on, let me move some of this stuff. It was that I was laying in my bed, or sitting up in my bed, watching. Well, I had the TV on, but I probably had it muted, I guess. I can't remember if it was muted or not. Because I started getting this vision along with a feeling. Now, sometimes God will cause you to feel the vision, feel everything in the vision, emotions. The message is instantly clear when God gives a revelation of truth or whatever God's going to show you. But this was a wall of fire, and it was coming up on the left side. And there's just a big wall of fire, and I saw the name Russia in the fire. And at the top of the flames, and I probably will sketch something out and add it to this video, I guess, because I like to sketch out my visions sometimes to help get over what I saw, to get over to the people what I saw, so we can all evaluate it. Because sometimes when I get these revelations, I have to interpret them. Sometimes they're kind of vague, not really direct sometimes. It's just a vision of something, maybe. And so I'll have to interpret that myself. And I've done that many times with the visions that God has shown me. Sometimes it's more direct and clear and doesn't need any interpretation. That's just how it goes. So this is like a wall of fire just coming all up beside me. And I hadn't had any fear at that moment. It was just a wall of fire, and it said Russia. The flames formed the name Russia. And at the top of each flame was a soldier or a colonel or a lieutenant, of Russia. And their heads were at each top of the flames, poking up out of the flames, looking towards, this way. They were all looking towards us. So this wall of fire was just all built up, and it was coming, like, I guess, towards America is what I felt, because I'm in America, and at the moment that I felt fear was the flames overtaking me and all this Russian soldiers at the top. But the flames became so real and so overwhelming. I was overwhelmed by these flames that said Russia, that for a split second, I mean, just like that much of a second that you could snap your finger in that time, I felt a terrible dread and fear, and then immediately the fear went away. But the flames and everything were still there, but they faded back down, and the vision faded away. Now, what does that mean? That's crazy, and it's not fun to experience those things, okay? So don't get all head up just because someone's in the prophetic ministry. So what? Be glad you're not. Be glad you're not called to this ministry, because it's a very difficult ministry at times, and a very stressful one at times, and can be traumatic at times, okay? So don't ever, I wouldn't desire it, what I'm saying, myself. And I'm not the kind of person that desires going through these situations and having to deliver certain messages, So the one message I just posted was about, I saw the big tall letters that said USA in front of the continent of Greenland. And these big, tall, towering letters said USA. And I posted that video a couple weeks ago, or maybe not even that long ago. But I had that about a month ago. The Lord gave me that vision. And he kept giving it to me, so I just put it out there. And now the other day I saw on the news, this is so funny, I see on the news that Donald Trump is trying to send a big, giant Red Cross ship to Greenland to give them health care, And, but what I saw in that vision several weeks ago, and I put it on a video, was that the USA letters were in the front of the continent, as if they were guiding the continent. And I see the continent rocking back and forth like it's floating through the ocean, and the USA was at the helm of it, at the front of it. So I don't know if that has anything to do with that ship or not. I'm not saying it does. I'm just saying this is what was revealed to me. And now we're hearing this a few days later about Trump wanting to send this big Red Cross ship to Greenland without, they're okay, they're not even, they don't even want it, what I'm saying? So, and like I said in that video the other day of the USA and Greenland, it's like, it was a stance of dominance by America. And, I could see the continent as if the continent was being pulled by the USA through the ocean, guided by the USA through the ocean. But it wasn't really going anywhere. It was staying where the continent is, but the water was bubbling under it, and it was kind of moving back and forth. And the letters USA was at the front of the continent, what I'm saying, hovering over it. So I don't know what that has anything to do with it, but we know, Donald Trump does, want Greenland. So I'm not saying they're going to get it. I don't know if the USA is going to get it or not, but I'm just telling you what I saw. And but in this last vision, he was like overwhelmed with these flames of fire from Russia. Now, I know we're not going to be like bombed or nuked by Russia yet, because America has until 2039. Now, sure, something could happen between that time, sure. But the Lord told me America has until February of 2039. Listen, folks, that's very important. And you're going to see how important that is in the next few coming years, because God's going to bring it out on a bigger level. He's already showed me he's going to bring it out on a huge level. And the whole nation will have one last call to accept salvation. God's going to start it out in the revivals. It'll start out in revivals. Something catastrophic will happen, some type of natural disaster, whether it's asteroids or, I saw big comets or asteroids hitting the earth a few months ago, last year in 2025, towards the end. I put that video on here. So I saw big asteroids hitting the earth, and I was up in space, and I saw the earth, and I saw this big explosion of comets. First, I was traveling with two comets, big comets, and they just stopped and fell to the earth. And I didn't know they were going to hit the earth, but I kept looking because I was wondering where the comets went, because I was traveling at the same speed with the comets up in space, and they just fell straight down. And I was looking, and I was like, where'd they go? And after a few seconds, I don't know, maybe, I'm sure it would take longer for the comet to reach the earth, but in this vision, it probably was sped up for the sake of time. But it must have been at least 10 seconds. I saw it. Finally, I was just looking at the earth, at how pretty it was and blue, and all of a sudden, I saw this big explosion where the comets hit the earth, or asteroids, and it was two of them. So, I don't know when that's going to happen, but I heard Jesus tell someone else, I heard this from someone else, but Jesus told someone else that's reliable, a prophetic voice, that it will happen before 2030. So in the next few years, this is 2026, February 2026, this month. And today is February 27th, 2026, okay, that I'm making this video. But anyway, this wall of fire and fear I felt, and it was overcoming and overwhelming. And, I'm not really sure what that meant either, honestly. But I didn't think I would feel any fear from it. But for a split second, I was just terrified. And then it went away, you know. So let's keep our eyes on Russia. You know, they're making friends with Germany now. Germany's coming out of the woods, aren't they? Germany's making friends with China. Germany's making friends with Russia. It's all in the Bible. And we see it coming to pass, folks. And I'm telling you, the Lord said America 2039. Hang in there. I'm going to make another video soon.